Don't have anyone that wishes to address the board at this time. This is the last call. All right, then we'll get right into the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm calling the meeting to order now and ask that Secretary Allen please confirm the quorum.
So that 477 of the bylaws was the village quorum, which is 1/2 of the number of directors that now serve, so constitute a quorum at a meeting of the board. There are 7 directors on the Lakeland Village Board at this time. We are all present, so I declare a quorum.
Thank you, Max. Next item is to review, correct, and approve previous month's minutes. Any corrections? With that, may I have a motion for approval, please?
I'm very tired of the motion that we approve the minutes as printed. I'll second.
Okay, that was Bob and Max, Jody.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm calling for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hand. And that was unanimous. On to the treasurer's report.
This is for the month ending October 31st of 24. This is the general operating fund, which are used to run this place every day. Cash and CDs on hand at the end of October were $1.75 million. For the full year 2024, we are forecasting total revenues of $3.3 million, of which $3 million will come from the homeowner annual assessments. Budgeted expenses forecast for 2024 are $3.3 million, with $125,000 expected to transfer to our reserve fund. Through October, our revenue and expenses are in line with our forecast. However, we continue to monitor expenditures and undergo higher pricing in products, labor, and availability. In addition, there remains a large unknown as to what may lie ahead with the economy. The replacement reserve fund, these are funds we use for major repairs. Cash and CDs on hand at the end of October, $4.5 million. In 2024, we are forecasting revenues of $782,000. Revenue comes primarily from new homeowner preservation fees of $633,000. The 2024 reserve budget includes a transferred revenue of $125,000 from the operating budget, and projected interest of approximately $24,000. Through October, interest revenue earned was approximately $79,600, which exceeds our projected amount of $24,000. Reserve fund expenditures budgeted for 2024 are $1,142,250. Ongoing expenditures remain planned for perimeter wall repair, painting, and as you've noticed, if you've been over to the lakes, they started working on the asphalt repair, and the fitness center architect. Other normal infrastructure repairs and replacement and expenditures will be addressed as needed. These financials will be on file at the administrative office afternoon tomorrow. The October treasurer's report will be approved at the November 6th board of directors meeting and available the following day. Should anybody have any questions, call 623-561-0099. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. May I have a motion for approval of those budgets, please?
I'll move to approve this budget as written.
Second. Aye.
Thank you. Good. Okay, may I have a second on that? That was
I'll second.
Bruce and Max, Jody. With that, I will call for the vote. Raise your hand if you approve of the budget. Did you raise your hand there, Mr.?
I did.
Oh, I didn't see it. Okay, very good. It was unanimous, Jody. Thank you. Unfinished business, facilities usage report. So, up on the screen and also on pages 16 to 18 in your document.
So you'll see that this report ran through November 24th. Our numbers are picking up, as everybody knows, at the rec centers and in the community. We did add an additional number to the FER report as per last month's meeting. Just behind the club name, you will see a number with an asterisk, and when you go to the bottom, that is what the club president packet showed for allowable guests when they turned their packet in January of 24. So that's how many club guests each club is allowing for their clubs. Those packets are due again in January of 25. We've already had the club president's meeting, so we will update that probably in February.
Any questions or comments on that report?
I would just like to make a comment.
All right, make it.
This is to the end of November, well, actually not the end of November, the 24th of November, this community saw almost 9,600 free guests come to our facilities.
Free?
Free. They're free.
They didn't pay.
Did you pay for any of them?
Yeah, every year I pay my dues and I get 20.
But your dues don't cover that. These are people that do not live here.
You're the treasurer.
Yeah.
I think that our dues covers 20 guests.
You get 23, yes, that, I won't argue that.
How do they agree that they $700 and some bucks for it?
That's just to maintain what we have here. That's just to maintain what we have
And
here.
on top of the 20, there are
Yeah.
all free.
I'm sorry, but we need to have people come up to the microphone. We can't hear the discussion.
I'm disputing that there are.
Please come up to the microphone. State your name and your subdivision, please.
Kevin Nielsen, Ironwood Estates. If I pay my dues and receive in exchange for that, the use of facilities at 20 guest passes, those guests are not free. I paid for them. That's my point.
So, where do you think you paid for them, Kevin?
You want my checks? I can show you the checks.
No, I'm not disputing that. What I'm saying is, everybody in this room gets 20 free. Are they free?
No.
Okay, and we could dispute that all day.
Yeah, can I just have them? I don't pay my dues.
We don't have that anywhere where we can remove that from you.
So
Yeah,
I don't have to pay my dues to get 20 free guests.
No, that's not true. You wouldn't be a member in good standing if you didn't pay your dues. So that's not true, Kevin. If you don't pay your dues, your guests cannot come in.
That was actually a rhetorical question to try to get.
Okay, well, I answered it.
Excuse me, Amy? Amy?
Pardon?
I think, Kevin, that if we were considering that, what you say, it would be a line item in our budget that allowed for the guest passes. There is no line item for that, so it just becomes part of your amenity as being a member of this association.
Kevin, really quick, this is kind of limited. So in Article 2 of the CCNRs, it talks about general assessments for invitees and stuff like that, so you do pay for it, but
It's semantics, but I think the point is,
These aren't free guests, they're guests of ours, family members of ours, friends of ours, that come to use because we pay our dues and own these facilities, that's all that.
That's good.
All right. Let's move on. This is pool update.
Okay, this is pool update. We're actually meeting with Cal Pools after the board meeting to discuss their findings. They've done quite a bit of work and we will report back after Sean and I meet with them today.
All right, thank you. Yeah, Mike?
I'm Mike Barnett, I live in Cypress Point Estates. Regarding these tiles in the pool, I use both pools, and over at the other pool, they don't have those tiles in where you tell me you can't find time and a place for these ladies that do aerobics at the Vista pool. Could they go to the other pool where there's no tiles to be considered?
I believe that is a possibility. I don't know how far that point has been examined. Thank you for that input, Mike. All right. Anything else? Resident Guest Pass Ad Hoc Committee. And that committee met the other day, and one of the committee members was out of town. Tim was out of town, but Bruce took his place and had a lot of great input. And the committee came up with a proposal for the board regarding the guest pass. And the guest pass is what Kevin was talking about a little bit. Right now, the policy is that you get 20 free passes, and then 20 free guests, and then additional guests are charged for 20 punches. I believe it's at $25. So we are examining that because the philosophy is that guests do put some wear and tear and staff involvement and payroll costs into our budget. So we are trying to assign some revenue where a little bit of cost is incurred. That's just the bottom line on that. And the committee recommended this, that we keep 20 punches free. And after that, the punches are raised to $5 a punch, purchasable in a a 20 punch card. So that would make the cost of that card go to $100. And it was also suggested that people are limited to 5 guests at any one time. And this would become effective immediately. So first, I'm going to have the board give their discussion of it, and then we'll turn it over to the audience. Yeah. May I have a motion on that proposal?
As chairman of the rec committee, I'll move that we adopt this policy to take effect immediately.
That's Max. May I have a second on that, please?
Yes, I'll second.
Thank you, sir. All right, discussion. Any questions from the board members? Any
Yes.
discussion?
Yes, I have a question. So, Kathy Carter, are you here? She came up last month and had got the opportunity to speak to the board members. And at that time, I had discussed about Article 2. And as of right now, there is no amendment or a provision within the CCNRs or within our governing documents to even charge anybody for 20 punches. So according to state law, we have to amend the Constitution or Declaration in order to charge for that.
That's not completely accurate. The board has the ability to make adjustments like they do on the reservation fee and things like that.
The board has the authority to.
They adopted that many, many years ago and have made policy changes through the years.
I understand there's policy changes out there, but I don't think they're legal. So can you please put up there what you're talking about on the board as far as, so we can follow the bouncing ball? Please. It's right there. No, it's not. There's no citing of any document on there at all. It just says that here's 4 ideas of what we're asking to do that. So when you had your ad hoc committee, what did you use to cite in order to do this?
So the ad hoc committee was provided with the membership policy for Westbrook Village, which includes the cost for additional passes and the description per the CCNRs that talk about guests are defined as friends, family members, and caretakers.
That is per the meet. I've got it right here too. But that also is illegal because of the fact that an invitee is, you can invite Santa Claus if you want to. That's up to you. Hey, Santa Claus is not really my friend this year. He's not my caretaker, and he's not a relative. So the word invitee means that you can invite, I can invite the mayor of Peoria if I would like to. He's not my friend. He would be a great idea to invite because it would help me with my government relations, but he's not a friend. So we need to stick with the word invitee because that's what the CCNRs say. That's our constitution. And if we're going to change the definition of that, what we need to do is we need to amend the CCNRs.
Well, we've tried to amend the CCNRs. I'm, at this point,
board policy's been in effect for 25 years.
Yes.
If it needs to be challenged, I suggest somebody hire an attorney and challenge what the board's done for 25 years. But I don't believe the board is on a soft ground with this. We can spend more legal attorney money if the board sees fit to clarify that.
So would you mind if we have a show of hands that from the board who does not want to acknowledge the fact that the state law is supreme? They were over this.
Discussion.
It's part of the discussion because
Jim, you're starting to obstruct any forward motion on our agenda.
no, I'm not actually. What I'm doing basically is I'm challenging this because that's part of the discussion.
Well, at this point then, I guess we incur yet another attorney fee to verify that in fact for over 20 years we've been operating under this, and believe me, the attorney has reviewed policies that have come from the board. So at one point, the whole guest pass and whatnot did get attorney review. But if you're going to obstruct here, I will ask Karen to please go to the attorney and reconfirm that.
Well, be advised that I've got somewhere in my stack of papers where the attorney did cite the policies within our documents, but it did not cite state law. And then that state law comes first, and then it's our governing documents.
No, federal law comes first. But, okay.
Well, when it comes to this matter,
Okay. At this point, I'm going to move on to the next item, and I will ask you to please get attorney opinion, and that'll cost us all money on that.
So we're going to table that and withdraw the motion.
Yes.
Max and Ross, do you want to withdraw the motion?
Is this for discussion, is this for recommendation, any public input?
Motion still on the floor, so I assume you have.
Okay, I guess I will open it up for public input. But please do not be redundant. Please.
Please come to the microphone.
my case, husband at Tamron Place.
Okay.
So I guess my comment would be maybe reconsider the maximum of 5 guests allowed. I'm not sure where that number came from, but example, we've got 6 relatives coming for the holidays to stay with us. Like, it seems unfortunate we have to say, hey, you have to stay home, can't use the facilities.
Then, do you have a spouse or a partner or anything like
That
that?
spouse.
Okay, you both could.
Really?
So
It's the same.
so it's 10.
residents?
Sure.
It's per resident.
So you would get 10.
So you have to.
That helps.
As I was on that ad hoc committee, and we discussed this quite a bit, and I felt 5 was a good compromise, because there were other things that were even less. And it is important to be aware that if you're 2 in a household, you're all of a sudden allowed 10 guests, not just 5. And I felt with that knowledge, particularly with our folks that have functions on our courts, in the pool, etc., that allowed them to get 10 guests, and that's plenty. There's just realistically, I mean, we have upper
Yeah, but what if
here.
you're not married?
I was just going to say.
I'm single.
Come up to the microphone, please.
I think I'm,
Come up to the microphone, please. No yelling.
I'm single.
So you get 5 people.
I have 4 children who come to visit me at holidays. So what if they have a boyfriend and a girlfriend that also come, or a husband and a wife, or grandchildren? We can't all go and enjoy the pool or the courts, or we like to go down and play pickleball for half an hour. So I'm just saying, I'm single, and I think there's quite a few other people who do have spouses, so
So what number would you recommend?
not 5.
That's not an answer.
Yeah.
This is all new for me, so I don't think there should be a limit.
Hi, I'm Lisa Culbertson. I live in Cambridge Crossing. I have a question regarding that, saying that 2 people have 10 each.
No,
5 each.
Okay, but you get per household just 20, right?
Yes, no.
No, I think we're confusing something. So each property, as of January 1st, can go in and request 20 free passes. You can put it on 1 card, 2 cards, however many household owners there are. Now, what the next step is you'll read in number 3, each time each person comes in, they can bring a max of 5 people each time. So if there's 2 of you, you can bring in 10.
My next question is regarding the 20 punches for $100. If this goes through, could we all buy 20 now at whatever, 20 for 25 right now, and will it roll over?
No, they were talking about effective immediately,
So immediately, once this meeting ends?
once the board makes a decision.
Y'all better go and get your passes.
Joe?
Joe Bernier, Lakeview Estates. Again, if my wife or I perish, then that 5 becomes detrimental to our family. But I think we really need to consider the level of guests. And just as an example, I work for an airline and I have guest passes on that airline. My spouse is at a level, so she gets to fly if there's room. My kids are at a next tier, if you will.
So it's age, based on age?
Based on relationship.
Gotcha.
Okay, and then my friends are at another tier, which is down here. And we call it D1, D2, D3, for example. So I really feel that, let's say we should allow each community member possibly to name their guests and their relationship. And obviously people provide ID when they use the facilities. And then those could be manipulated every, I'm about to have another grandchild, for example, in February. So I would add, this is my grandchild. Let's say it was a friend that we wanted to come do, sit by the pool, his name would be on there already as a friend. Something like that would allow us to see and use different levels and possibly have different amounts that should pay for that. My family is gonna show up here in a week, and if we all went to the pool, I'd earn my 20 with the grandkids and the kids, for example. And I think $5 each to get another 20 for my family, that we would use it, maybe 3 times a year, is a bit excessive. But I can understand that $5 if we're doing something else, and my friends are over all the time and we're using facilities. So that's a suggestion I have. Thank you.
That's a great suggestion, Joe. I also like it because it's probably been tried and true by your airline. That system's been experimented with.
Bruce, when we were in budget and Ways and Means, I'm just looking at this $100 price tag for the 20 punches. Didn't you bring up the fact that you thought 200 was a better number than 100?
Can you repeat
that? What are you?
When we were in Ways and Means, when we started talking about, is your mic up?
Yeah, I must have pushed it, sorry.
It's okay. When we were in Ways and Means, when we were talking about how we thought we'd be able to generate some income to put towards operating, we were kicking around numbers for this exact.
Yeah, and that's all I was doing, was kicking numbers around.
Well, that's
200 would always be better.
Everybody's keen on this 100. There was discussion to make it even higher.
That's correct.
It went as high as 500.
But it was a tiered system.
Exactly.
It was going from one level to the next to the next.
Right.
And that was our discussion. Now, in ad hoc, I felt that $100 beyond the first 20 was a reasonable charge for guests. Now, you brought up a very good point about family, and it does make sense to have consideration for that, and maybe we need to table this and discuss it more. I'm not sure.
We did discuss at the ad hoc committee, one of the communities that we surveyed did have an age demographic. I think it was 16 and under. They charged $350 versus $5. So that's not unusual to have the tiered effect that Joe is recommending. They use an age. Because many young children aren't going to have IDs on them. You just, you want to bring your grandkids with you, and that's a privilege to have here.
If I'm remembering correctly too, I believe that we're the only community that allows the 20 free passes.
Correct.
Everybody else, it's $5 the minute your guest walks in the door.
Do they pay under time?
Pardon?
Do the other places pay $5?
Microphone?
So, sorry, I'm up again. Do the other communities just charge per time as the person comes, or they have to buy a package?
I don't know. Fully.
And the other question is, why can't we do it that way, per time?
Actually,
We discussed that.
Sun City charges $5 every time they pass reception desk.
Okay, and then the last
Doesn't
one.
matter how many times a day. They go out, they come back, it's another $5.
That's not true. I guess I'm not following.
Yeah, we would still use the wristband, so that wouldn't, that.
It would be $5 for the day for your guests, whatever part of the rec center they access.
I speak real quick, to be sensitive to our staff at the desk, we chose to use 20 at a time rather than doing a $5 each time, because then they all of a sudden have to handle funds, which is another burden that they have to bear, and then there's cash running around. So we prefer people thought 100 and pay it to the office directly.
Or we
And they
can
do not expire. Those roll over. I mean, if you bought 10 or 20, excuse me, and you had 10 left in the year, those just roll over year to year.
Okay, the last question I hope I have is, so what if I moved after I bought 100 or bought 20 more benches and they weren't used? Then I'm out of luck.
Yeah.
Can
We
you
don't
transfer them
remember.
to someone else?
No. Maybe we could do it in an increment of 10. If the $100 is what's scaring people, we can buy them and do 10 at a time for $50 versus $5 every time somebody walks in the door. Because you all come in regularly and see the front desk does get backed up and can be bottlenecked. That would increase when you're making change and paying for all of that. So maybe consider 10 at a time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So is this gonna go back to rec?
Wait a minute.
No,
Okay, Nancy.
Yeah, Nancy Millard, Oakmont Heights. My question relates to number 4. I would like the ad hoc committee to explain to the audience why a town hall shouldn't be required in this situation. This affects everybody in our community. And a town hall could be, as we've discussed previously, would have been very helpful, and now it's just been shut down. My question to you, Mr. Davis, is as chairman of the town hall committee, was it your understanding that we have a town hall that could address this issue and engage the entire community?
Yes, we talked about it the last board meeting that we were going to hold a town hall meeting. And this ad hoc committee got together and decided not to. Why did that happen?
Well, the ad hoc committee got together to discuss if there would be a town hall or not, and we determined that we didn't feel that it was necessary on this issue.
if you look at page 2 of your board meeting minutes from last month, it's very clear that this board assigned the committee to further discuss this and to determine if there'll be a town hall or a survey. So that was what that ad hoc was tasked with.
Okay, I need to go back and look at the video on that, but I don't think that's accurate.
Okay, Jody took 1 minute to guess.
All right,
Very clear.
Ms. Gal,
All right, sorry.
Ladies first.
I'm Laura Rice. Laura Blaudel, I live in Eagle Ridge.
Last name, please.
I said Blaudel.
Blaudel.
Yes, Blaudel. B-L-A-U-D-E-L-T.
Thank you.
Sure, no problem. All right, I'm really close now. All right, so.
Oh, sorry.
I'm coming forward. I may not be liked by everyone, but I see where everyone is coming on what you have decided here. I do appreciate the fact that the 5 guest is per resident. I do not feel that that is fair for individuals such as my mother-in-law. My father-in-law has probably less than 2 weeks to live, and she is going to be having lots of family in, and she is going to be, to the detriment of our family, not able to utilize 10. Because if you went with 10 per household, then that would remedy that whole situation. Because you're saying homeowners. Well, you know what? You might have 3 homeowners because you can. So are they going to get 15? You've got to have a single unit to base this on. So that's why I am suggesting that you do not do it per resident, that you do it per household, because that is fair across the line for everyone within this community. It is not allowing someone with 3 homeowners to have 15, or for only 1 homeowner to only have 5. So that is my suggestion on that.
So per property, you
Per
get 10,
property,
10
you
per
get
day.
10 per day.
Or more. Or more. They're saying.
Oh, okay, all right. I
That takes care of a
understand.
single homeowner.
I'm saying the home, the property gets 10. And like I said, it may not be something that everyone is in agreement with, but I do feel it's a fair number. If people want more, get your friends to be friends with someone and come sign them in. I'm not saying work the system, but you know what? Everyone does it, whether it's right or wrong. Another thing that I would like to address is how we identify, to your point with the airlines. It all sounds good in theory, but our frontline staff are already overwhelmed with our new guest pass policy. And there's no one out there monitoring it. The thing is, there is to a point. Trust me, I'm out there and I see it. So, and I'm not paid enough for my time for me to monitor it. And I feel that a lot of other people in the community feel the same way. But I feel that how are you going to determine who is who? Who's going to have that responsibility? If you put names down, that's something that all has to be done ahead. And I'm sorry, I may find a friend tomorrow night at the bar. I don't know. I'm married, I'm not going to find a friend anymore. But I need a girlfriend. Yeah, but I don't know, you know? To your point about Santa Claus, Santa Claus is my friend. He can be my friend today and he can be my enemy tomorrow. But at the point in time that I come forward and I want my guest pass, I'm going to say, he's my friend. So in order to have something tiered as such, it's going to be such a burden to our frontline staff.
How would you account for the investment owner who buys the house and then just continues to rent it?
It's in the CCNRs.
Then I would say that it's per that property again. It eliminates so much by just saying it's per property rather than having anyone to have to tally up, keep track of. I mean, how are you gonna know? You get 20 guest passes per household. Let's make it at 10 per household when we say per day. Because again, the frontline staff, how are they going to know that you can only have 5 guests? Are they gonna have this roster that they have to go in and check and go, oh, no. There's only one person on the title for your home. They can't monitor it, it's not feasible.
Can I help you? Can I help
Sure.
you, please?
Sure, go ahead.
So, just to let you know, in accordance with your CCNRs, an invitee means you can invite as many people as you want. Hold on here a second. So, in 2022, the Superior Court Judge of the state of Arizona told us that if we're going to change or create a policy that is in opposition of what the CCNRs are, we need to amend. And you need to support that. Because every single one of you, when you bought a home here, said you would abide by the CCNRs, the Articles of Incorporation, and the bylaws. You need to hold the board accountable. That's why I ran, okay? So you need to do that.
I understand, Tim. I truly
But
do.
you're telling us how what we need to do is table this.
I'm only making suggestions.
This already has been tabled.
It is tabled, it's just open for discussion.
If you vote for this, then
We're not voting.
you do vote for this, okay?
Yeah, this
But
is
you said,
just,
hold on here, you said that after today, people are going to be paying the new price.
That's not what was said.
We didn't pass this year, too, so we don't know yet.
It's not, I tabled this, Tim. I tabled it. And then somebody said, let's have the input, which is kind of the de facto town hall, by the way. So I am listening. Here, Tim. Thank you.
and Tim,
We all.
I understand to your point, what you're saying. I am just giving suggestions, whether it has to be a change to the CCNR. whether it has to go back to the ad hoc committee, whether we have a town hall. This is all just food for thought, and to try and get some clarification to make it easier on the community for understanding how this works, for our frontline staff, and considering that, and not trying to say anything, but I'm sorry, our frontline staff, we are not 25-year-olds. We are not sitting here and going, gung-ho, I'm gonna get you. No, we don't want to have to police this type of policy. Let's make it simplistic across the board.
And make it.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, Tom was up next.
Tom Schrader, Ironwood States.
My question is, what's the overarching objective on this change? Is it is it wear and tear? Do you want to make money on this? I don't get why the change is even occurring.
Well, my input is that this is not a revenue stream. If it was a revenue stream, it needed a lot more zeros on it. Okay? This is only to cover the costs of guests in our facilities and the wear and tear.
So it's a wear and tear.
It's to cover the day-to-day operations. It's not a revenue stream by any means.
It won't make that much revenue, but it will make that big a difference.
Do you think that the amount of guests currently is impacting wear and tear?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
No.
Like, for example, where's the wear and tear at?
The swimming pools, the fitness center, the sports courts, all of it.
So the level of guests we have now is causing incremental wear and tear.
The level of guests have been increasing over the last 3 to 5 years that we've never seen before. This policy has never been abused. It's never needed to be this type of a policy. And concerns have been brought up, and 12,000 guests a year is a number we've never seen before.
Okay.
So there's probably a couple hundred people that bring guests, but there's probably about 7,000 that don't.
Gotcha.
So, on the committee, we had that discussion, any input?
Right, it's to recognize excess chemicals in the pool, excess wear and tear on the courts, just that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Vince is up, then you, thank you.
Vince Lodato from Pinehurst. My issue is the process, not with what we're discussing or whether we want to implement this, but just the process of it. Not having a town hall, the perfect example of why we should have a town hall is what's happening right here. Okay? We've got people here with 15 different opinions, and some of them are pretty damn good. You know, you're not going to hear that with the 5 ad hoc committee members. You're going to have just what those 5 ad hoc committee members decide they want to do. Okay, this policy affects everybody in the neighborhood. We have a procedure for it at the town hall. Let's use it. I was at the President's Club meeting that's held every year. This was brought up. I would say half the people in that room didn't even know about it.
So why do you elect the board of directors?
Because my theory is we elect them to, instead of having things decided at the top and forced down, that they would seek out answers from the village, ideas from the village, and then come to a conclusion and say, this is what we heard from the village, this is what we're going to do. That's how I would like to see
It's a small majority.
This agenda was published for days, and only this number of people showed up.
Because we
So-
didn't know.
Because
Well, that's not the agenda.
That's why our board is The agenda is published.
You know, one last point, if we're going to define the guest, and the way I understand it, you're putting a friend, caretaker, and family member as guest, right? That's what the definition of the guest is going to be?
Or what's another definition that you would add?
I wouldn't add one, I would take all that off and just say non-resident.
Well, the
That's what all these people are, they're all
I
non-resident.
could walk on the street and recruit anybody I wanted to.
Actually, you can't, because that's the way the CCNRs read. It says invitee, you can invite anybody you want.
Right, and who's gonna determine who my friend is? That's what I'm trying to get at.
And why have us sitting up here? Why don't we just?
Here was a point that was made in the meeting.
Let them pass.
Do you charge your friends to play and do things with you? Do you charge them? Because that's what we see going on. You want to come into our facilities? I'm going to charge you and I'm going to make a profit on it. That is not. Yes, they have. In the front desk, we have it on tape.
We have videotape of people making money off of this.
How many
What
times?
did you talk to?
How many times? Once is too many.
So one person doing that is gonna set policy.
It's not one person.
Okay.
Do you want to survey my staff?
Well, for the surveys, I'd like to just be a survey and get more input from the village and have more input in so that all of you can make a more informed decision. That's all.
$3.75 decision is well decided by the board of directors.
Marty was next. Marty was next, Lynette. Marty was next, please.
Hello, back here.
Marty raised her hand. I recognize people who raise their hand. Come on, let's not get petty.
Okay, mine's gonna be short and sweet. We wanna simplify it. We want those who use it excessively, not excessively, but more regularly. Why don't we have a tier of cards? The first card could, like Apple 20, could be, I'm just throwing a number out, $75. The next card might be $100 in increments of 20. The more you use it, the more you're gonna have to pay. And so it's directly connected to who uses what home, what household uses the facilities the most.
So like the first 20 is 25, the second 20 is 50, third 20 is
Right.
75, and about.
Right, and then there's no bookkeeping.
I think that was discussed a little bit at the end.
Then there's no bookkeeping, and nobody has to make a decision at the front desk.
Okay,
And
thank you,
the front
Lynette.
desk is-
That's easily done.
Okay, Lynette now.
Okay, I'm Annette Jones from Fairway Springs. So I appreciate,
I'm from Fairway Springs too.
yes, you are.
Yeah.
So I'm following on some of these comments about the administrative cost of these different, sort of mechanisms to keep track of people. So this is just another suggestion, maybe what you can do for the week around Thanksgiving, the week around Christmas, or whatever time period, and Easter, when everybody's families are coming in, is just not, don't charge during that time period. That's administratively easier. You can, like I said, you can decide what that time period is, but also, when people have, like a death in the family, for example, all these people coming in from out of town to pay respects and whatnot, you might have some kind of a family hardship card or something, or people can call the office and say, we have family hardship, and we're gonna have a lot of people here, and you might be using some of the facilities. So you can kind of have a free pass for a while. Just an idea.
Great idea.
So you can also do children 14 and under are free. I mean, there's a lot of options, because I'm hearing family members are an issue.
Yes, okay.
Hi, Jan Tolman, Cypress Point, and I mentioned this idea off the record after a meeting to Karen one day, and I just want to present it to the board as a whole. And it may not even fly down because of what Tim said about invitee versus legalities and such. And I know we don't want to copy every communities just because, but I did live in another 55-plus community in the East Valley that was a gated community with guards. Nobody could come in or out unless they were on a list. And every resident, or every unit had to submit a list of, and they chose up to 10 people. But so you could list your kids or whatever, and they could come through the gate, and it was just easy, once a year, put it in, and then stay there. And if you wanted to change it, you notified security or whoever was in charge that, okay, my son has moved out of state or whatever, he will not be coming by all the time or whatever, I'm gonna put in somebody else. It could have been a best friend, it could be your pastor, it could be whoever you want, your mom, your dad, or whatever, but you put those down and that's your 10, and you do it one time, done, and you make changes as needed just by making a phone call. And it's a data entry issue, and I know it takes some man hours, but it also could be done by volunteers. And that kind of helps that thing with the IDs, at least for adults. It's just an ID.
Thank you, Jim.
Hello, I'm Donna Karnowski. I live in Village Terrace. We've been here about 8 years, and our grounds are beautiful. We all love Westbrook Village. That's not an issue at all. The issue is, in my opinion, I feel like since, and I'm going to use pickleball because obviously I'm a player, since pickleball had that issue because of a couple people not liking what happened to them and they got their feelings hurt, that we as the club are being picked on. It's probably not the proper word, but that's how I feel, because everything is always now geared towards, and I've been watching the meetings, that when I'm not able to come, which is often, I have a lot of doctor's appointments for my accident that I had locally, but I feel that a lot of this is transpired because of that issue. There's some people that have bad feelings about the pickleball club, and that's unfortunate. They were good friends, and now they're not, sadly. So I think that's causing a lot of these issues of annual guest passes and people trying to overcharge for a different price. They could have been collecting money for lunch afterwards. You don't know that. I don't believe you know that. That's not proved that that person was overcharging. I don't even know who the person is. But when I sit here and I hear this, and I just walked in 10 minutes ago, I mean, it was an observation that I decided on really quick. And that maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but I think it's getting to be a little bit ridiculous. Yes, you were voted upon, you were hired. And we expect you, as the board, to take care of all of us and to have what is in our best interest. No town hall is not in our best interest. I don't believe, I feel that is beneficial. Like you said, you had put out this a couple days ago, and this is all the people that came. Normally you don't have this many people, in my opinion, and it's because we feel strong about it, but we can't always be here. So enough of that. My 5 guest passes are allowed per resident per day. I have 6 kids that live here, and I have 3 beautiful grandchildren that live here. And if I can't even have my family come with us to use guest passes to do something for the family out of love and friendship, that's really sad. I think that's really sad. I can't even bring my entire family to come in to our beautiful village. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, and I didn't used to come to any of the meetings, and I just really wish you would take into consideration that, we voted you in to be a part for all of us. And I appreciate everything you're doing, absolutely, but I really want you to reconsider some of this stuff, because I feel that pickleball, because of the incident that happened, it's stirred up a lot of bad emotions and different things that people are not, we're losing friendship over it. And that's a shame. We're mostly all 65 and older. We are done with the junior high crap. We don't need to put up with silly little things that people get their feelings hurt and they carry a grudge. we need to be adults, and we need to discuss it like adults. I feel town hall would be very beneficial. I don't know so much about surveys, because a lot of people don't turn them in, but that's my opinion, so thank you for listening tonight.
Thank you, Dawn.
Bruce, I don't want to put you on the spot, but you were a big part of the no town hall discussion, and you had some really good comments, and I'm not recalling exactly what they were. Do you?
I'm trying to recall what they were. I'm trying to recall, forgive me. I just, I think for me as a pickleballer, I'm in that world, and this community has what, 3,700 residents in it?
3,900.
3,900 something.
7,400 residents.
And we're a very small portion of that, and I felt if we went to a town hall and all those non-pickleballers show up, we're gonna hear things we don't wanna hear. So that's what I was bent on, trying to find a compromise. Again, remember, I was just a member of the committee. I was just listening. I was trying to put in my 2 cents worth, whether it's right or wrong in your eyes. After talking with other committee members in this, I just felt that we'd stirred the hornet's nest too much. And that's why I kind of thought, well, maybe foregoing a town hall might be okay. And again, yes, I felt I was elected to represent the community. And I am listening right now, and there have been some wonderful ideas brought forth. But I will remind you that 80% of this audience are pickleballers. And those that are not here right now. And I have to be aware of that also.
But it's not a pickleball issue.
Hey, Vince, please, if you want to speak, come to the mic, but this gal is up next. I don't know your name, I'm sorry.
I'm Nancy Hoagland, Oakmont Heights.
Okay.
And all I want to do is we have a small group on Mondays that overcharge our people, and they're paying us $2.50 at the front desk. That's because that's how much we bought the card list. There's 5 guests for every Monday we did this. I mean, we didn't know it was $1.25. We're not trying to make any money off of it. Like seriously, I make $15 a year off of my friends. So now,
Why do you charge your friends at all?
we're not. We have single people that have fixed incomes. So I don't care. So anyways, we're gonna charge them all now. We're not trying to make any money. Come, all these things happen. If you just came and asked me, I'd say, oh my gosh, I apologize. I apologize to your front desk staff. They had no idea what I was talking about. I said, I'm so sorry if I put you in an odd position on Monday.
We are not aware of your incident.
No.
Thank you for that. We're not aware of your incident.
I was told that was an issue with the front desk.
No.
And so so we were the overchargers. I wanted to let
Thank
you
you.
know.
Thank you for coming forward.
Okay, I just
I
wanted to.
appreciate that. Okay, one moment, Vince, do you want to make a point?
Yes. I don't believe that this is a pickleball policy. This policy doesn't affect just pickleball, it affects the entire village.
That is right.
I happen to be in favor of the policy, okay?
I
I
know
think
you
there
are. I know.
should be a charge.
Mhm.
All I'm saying is, let's get all of the opinions in. Okay, there's more pickleball people here today, but look at all the different opinions you had among us.
Okay, good point, good point. Kevin, do you want to make a quick point too?
Yeah.
And then we need to move on.
Yeah, and I'll try not to be redundant. What I'd like to do is prevent the board from being redundant. And I know most of the board was not here last year. We got 3 holdover members. But this Vista's pool remodel was botched. Karen has informed us that they've been talking to the contractor about making some changes to the water aerobics area. Maybe if there had been a town hall or a survey that involved the people that use that pool, the water never voted club.
There was.
There was.
We had 8 months, we had meetings.
I was at the annual meeting.
That's not
When
what's
the
on the
president
agenda.
when the president of that club for the business came over and described the issues with that area. And the response from the general manager was, it meets code.
Okay.
Now, that's not good enough, so let's get some input about the people that use it, and everybody.
I guarantee you're going to hear from people who you really won't like their opinions. But at this point, I think first and foremost, Kurt, did you have something that was a little bit different? Because I'm going to ask.
Good morning, my name is Kurt Curley.
Hi, Kurt.
I'm a 25-year resident of Westbrook Village. I live in St. Andrews. I had the opportunity to be on the budget committee this year, and I wanted to take a little different look at this $5 fee. Steve was chair of the committee, and we were brainstorming different ideas on how to raise revenue for the association. Whether everyone recognizes it or not, we are razor thin on the operating side of our community. I think next year our revenues will exceed expenses by only $35,000. That's a razor thin margin that we need to work with. One mistake next year in the budget, and if you were here 25 years ago, you remember when this association was in the red and we had to pay assessments.
Twice.
So I think we need to think about, this isn't a punishment to the community, but we need to raise revenue. We either do it through things like visitor passes, RV fees, lake room, ballroom access, or we'll all face an assessment next year. There's really no way around that, I don't think, unless we get fortunate with the economy and the CPI index is higher than the expenses.
How much did you recommend for a special assessment?
We didn't discuss a special assessment yet.
We're way premature.
We have to, I think, my opinion was on it, we were going to look at different revenue levers we could pull for this year, and then look at it. You guys would have to look at it.
Thank you. Thank you for that reality check, Kurt.
Thanks for your time on budget, by the way.
Okay, at this point, what I want to say is we have to go back and address what Tim brought forward with the attorney. I'm not going to say anything about a town hall at this point or anything. I hear your points, and I hope that you realize that I'm open-minded enough that you got through to me. And so let's explore what Tim brought forward first, and then we'll go back to the ad hoc and determine if there should be a town hall or not. And that's what I can do at this point. Everybody?
We still didn't do anything with this motion.
It's table that it gets dropped. Yes. Yes. Okay, everybody doing good now? Or doing better? Thank you. Thanks all for the input.
Yeah.
Okay, club guest pass.
Go Michaels. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Max.
I'm going to be real quick.
Sorry.
This has been tabled back to the rec committee, and we will be discussing it next week. At the rec committee meeting.
Okay, onward to new business, club bylaws update. And Bill Wolf has volunteered to speak for the committee that examined this issue. So Bill, if you will come up, please.
Well, thank you, Madam President, members of the board. My name is Bill Wolf, and I'm a resident of Cypress Point, like a number of our attendees here today. I hope this will be somewhat less controversial than our last topic. In the world of documents and bylaws and procedures and plans and policies and all those things, it's a generally accepted practice that the documents should be reviewed about every 5 years. And the purpose for that is to ensure that they remain current, but also as there are other documents within an organization that may impact it, it also ensures that all the documents have consistent wording and requirements and things of that type. And that was the charge that we took on as the ad hoc committee to look at the Westbrook Village Club bylaws. Now, for the members of the board, the good news is that the bylaws were really very good overall. Now, if you look at the copy that you have in your book and all the red lines and changes in there, you may not believe that. But this was really a two-step process. The first thing that we did was to go through the document and ensure that it met the norms, the generally accepted norms for procedures, policies, procedures, and bylaws, and things of that type. And what that means is that as you look at all those red lines, you're going to see, looks like we rewrote the whole thing and bled all over it, which we did not. What you have there, though, are editorial changes that are very common in the document. Sometimes those are referred to in groups as happy and glad changes, because they do not impact the content specifically of the document, but it does bring it in so it conforms with other documents across the board, and in some cases resolves legal issues that may come out of it. And let me give you 2 examples, and really those changes are, with regard to this document, all the changes with the exception of 4 notable changes that I'll mention separately. But you're going to make an editorial change that could be correcting grammar, spelling, punctuation, capitalization, anything like that. It doesn't affect it overall, but it just enhances the meaning. I'll give you 2 examples. One of which is that if you look at the 2017 revision of the plan, of the bylaws, you'll see the term general manager, you'll see the term recreation center manager, you'll see the term HOA board of directors. Those are all in lowercase in that document. In the world of procedures, a lowercase reference like that does not indicate an individual or group, only a function. So technically, if it said that something had to be approved by the general manager lowercase, that could be anyone who might be even remotely related to that. So we went through and we modified those so that it is WVA, Westbrook Village Association, general and manager capitalized. That makes it refer to a specific position in a specific individual. Same thing for recreation center managers, people at the reception desk, and the board of directors, so that it specifically specifies an individual or a job position that is accountable for those actions. The other thing we did, which bled all over, was the use of the word club. These aren't just clubs. These are Westbrook Village Association clubs. And we wanted to make sure that anyone who looked at these bylaws understood that, and that an individual who picked this up and said, well, you know, a club, lowercase club, can reserve a room for a meeting. Well, you know, I'm a member of the Elks Club, so I should be able to get one of these rooms for free too, and schedule my regular meetings here. We wanted to ensure that it was very clear that was understood. So that's, with except 4 notable exceptions, that's what all that red ink is that you're looking at. Now, of the 4 notable recommendations that the board made, And I'll do these in order, and by and large, they're relatively simple. But in Article 1 of the bylaws, which is organization and purpose, in Section 1, and there's subsections A and B, we wanted to clarify the fact that to establish a club, a Westbrook Village Association Club, WVA club, that the minimum requirement for members is 12 to establish it, it's 12 to maintain it over time, and that this core group of 12 members must be Westbrook Village homeowners, lessees, or annual residents. So you can't start a club with 6 residents and 6 non-residents. It's that simple. But we'll make sure that helps to maintain the integrity of the clubs and also their ability to deal with the governing documents and the requirements that they must meet. So that was our first recommendation. Our second recommendation was also in Article 1, Organization and Purpose, and that was actually Section 5.
Can I ask you?
Or Section 8.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, A and B, that's new material, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that should be in red.
Well, let's explain the red and blue. Red was from the ad hoc committee, blue was from the attorney.
Okay.
And this document has been reviewed by our attorney. So, okay, so the other section, also Article 1, Organization and Purpose, Section E, we thought it was necessary to make sure that the Westbrook Village Association clubs understand that they are not eligible to be any type of 501c per the Internal Revenue Code. Now, the reason for that is that the clubs are approved by the board. The clubs are governed by the governing documents of the HOA, and thus they are part of the HOA. And per the Internal Revenue Code, an HOA is not eligible to be a 501c of any type. And generally that means either a 3, a 4, or a 7 with what we're looking at. So we just want to make that clear. We did have an issue here with the club in the past year where it had to dissolve itself because it had become a 501c3. There have been inquiries about other clubs, and obviously there are advantages. You can seek donations and tell people they're tax deductible, which is a nice benefit, but there are a lot of other restrictions. And just as an aside on that, our neighbor to the west, immediately to the west, adult community, is in a world of hot water right now because one of their clubs was a 501c3 and the Internal Revenue found out. So everything that they're able to do now is by donation only, which means if you're putting on a performance and you want to charge $10, people can give you $10, they can give you $20, they can give you $1, they can give you a penny, they can come in for free. So there are a lot of things to do with there. So we just want to make sure that people understood that. Then also, and again, 3 out of our 4 of our recommendations were all in Article 1, Organization and Purpose. Section 9, we wanted to clarify the whole tournament issue. And we came up with some wording on this that the attorney massaged for us. And basically what that says now is that a club may sponsor member-only tournaments with the approval of the general manager or the recreation center manager. It's just, that's how clear it is now. It doesn't prohibit tournaments within the clubs, but there's a process to follow to do that. So that takes care of that. And our last recommendation was actually, now we made it down to Article 2 under membership. And this is Section 2. The original section 2017 version, indicated that a club must be comprised of a minimum of 51% homeowners, lessees, and annual residents. As a group, we looked at that 51% number, and we were somewhat alarmed by that for a number of reasons, but partially because, you know, the difference between 51% and 49% is not very great. And if you have an organization that has, especially here would have 49% of its membership are non-residents, the influence they have over that club is significant. And depending upon the individuals, you know, could very well take over the operation of the club, for lack of a better term. So we looked at what needed to be done there, and based on some input that we have had from other residents, somewhat different than we hear in this room today, our resident population by and large is very concerned about the number of non-residents who are using their facilities, based on the fact that the residents are the ones who support and maintain those facilities. And as we heard earlier, the understanding that our assessments really do not cover our operating costs. And we felt that there was a need that more emphasis, more priority should be given to our residents. So we started a discussion, and the first number that came up was that it should be 80% of club membership should be either, again, homeowners, lessees, or annual residents. After some discussion, we lowered that to 70%, because we feel it is important that the resident populations in the club really have the strong majority rule and how the club functions, since it is a WVA club, in following the guidelines and making sure that the integrity of the club as part of Westbrook Village is maintained.
May I ask you a question?
Mm-hmm.
I may have missed it. Has the club residents, have they reviewed this yet?
The document has been reviewed by the attorney, has been reviewed by the Recreation Committee, and at this point is passed on by the Recreation Committee to this board for consideration and possible approval.
And the ad hoc committee.
And the ad hoc committee. We got a lot of feedback on this. Yeah.
Next, just a comment. I ran this by our club on Monday night and monthly club meeting, and there was really no opposition to it. Of course, that club does not, we allow 6 members as against the 12, which would be 50%, but we have much more than 12 members that are residents. So I'm not really worried about it. The fact was that even non-residents approved of the measure. They understood why we were doing it.
So anyway, we settled on 70% because that's an extremely strong majority, again, to maintain the integrity of Westbrook with the clubs. That's really a summary of our changes. And as I say, that they've been reviewed by the attorney. They were presented to the Recreation Committee at the last meeting, and then forwarded to this group for consideration and approval. If you have any other questions, I'd be happy to try to field those, or call on one of the other committee members. Marcy was on the committee, Norman was on the committee, Vince was on the committee, Maria Thorne was on the committee. Did I leave anybody off?
Thank you,
If
Bill.
there are questions,
Thank you for volunteering to speak for them. Okay, at this point, I'm going to, I know you're there, Joe, but a little bit of business first. At this point, I'm going to ask for a motion on that issue. You have a motion, please.
Yes, as chairman of the Recreation Committee, I'd like to forward the motion that we approve these changes to the club policy.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that was Max and Marcy, Jody. Now, board members get to speak first, Joe, then I'll get to you. Okay. Anything from any board member at this point?
Yes. Go ahead. Can I speak first? Okay. So I appreciate all the work that you've done because I know it's very difficult to do this. Unfortunately, I guess what we're asking the board to do is to vote for this in toto, right? All in one shot. One of the things that I don't like is the fact that the rec committee chair has basically, this document has given the general manager a lot of leeway that he needs to take back. So we shouldn't be giving the general manager as much authority as we have. So
No authority's changed.
well,
Just the title.
So just to let you guys know, and I apologize, I've only been a board member since April, but this is the first time I've seen this. I've never seen this document before Thursday. And that's my fault, but I have never seen it. So I need to go through it. And there's a lot of information here about authority of the general manager. And unfortunately, what happened the day after we had our November 6th meeting is one of our residents ended up getting a letter from the general manager concerning the use of having people come and use our courts. And so immediately I thought, well, that's an overstep of bounds. And after I read this, I can understand why she did it. But we need to look at that. We need to review this. And first of all, the residents of Westbrook Village, this is the place that you live. You got to protect it. We can't be giving away our rights to be here. And so I'm asking you to table this again so we can look at it and let it be part of the town hall meeting so we can relook at this because this involves all the clubs.
Okay, I'm done with the town hall thing. We have had conversations for months about having town halls, and as the chairperson of the town halls, where are the town halls?
Well, okay, here we go. So, for example, one of the town halls is what last time we talked is we wanted to combine several of them together and have to wait. That was a personal conversation that I had with Amy Miller, president. So I'm sorry that, and I also talked to you about this before in a private meeting. So that's where it lies. And so we're talking about, we want to combine the fact that we've got an issue regarding streets.
Okay.
And we also talked about having a town hall meeting concerning, for example, like the use of the pickleball courts. We've talked about other things to add in one lump sum. Because, so anyway, you seem to be upset, and I'm sorry about that. But you could have talked to me about that privately.
I want to interject something here too. In the past month, Karen and I became alarmed at how our calendars were booking up. To schedule a town hall, you need availability of the Lakes Club. And that availability was becoming really much more scarce. So Karen and I did book the Lakes Ballroom for a town hall that addresses the electronic voting and the parking issue. Those are two very broad-based issues. And that is to be Monday, January 13th at 6 p.m.
I actually have to go up to the microphone.
Yeah.
I would actually like to address Marcy. You asked where are the town halls. Why would you have a town hall when everyone is gone?
Well,
Not everyone is back yet.
I understand that, Nancy. They need to get scheduled though, and every meeting, there's a conversation, well, let's have a town hall, let's have a town hall. And until you actually start scheduling them, we're not having.
You can't schedule them until people are back.
Yes,
We have to schedule things on the calendars, what Marcy's referring to, Nancy. We don't just have that availability to set up a room just like this. It requires looking at the calendar.
I understand that, and I'm not being unreasonable. All I'm saying is, part of the reasoning behind trying to pick a date is to figure out when everyone's available.
January
I
13th is, that's really part of our very busy season. As many people are going to be around, will be around at that date. I scheduled that on purpose.
I understand that. I myself scheduled a town hall last year during our high season for the election, and I didn't have a problem getting a date, so just saying.
Okay.
So what we can do is we can add to the town hall on January 13th, a couple more topics.
No.
Yes, we can.
Typically, you would do one topic, and we believe that 2 is enough.
Well, I understand that you believe that. Now, a conversation that I had with Amy Miller is that we needed to combine them. Now, this is brand new news that you want to, hold on here, I'll finish and then you can talk. So now you're telling me that we're going to have 2 topics. So early on in May or June, I submitted a standard operating procedure on town halls. None of that's in there. So we probably need to dig that back out. So if you're going to say now that we're going to limit it to 2 items per deal, we can push the streets out a little bit because we have a deadline in June, I believe, right?
Yeah, but that's gonna be on the ballot, that's the point. E-voting is going to be new to the community, and one of the things other than to vote for the incoming new board members is the roads, the parking.
Therefore, we are.
That's gonna be on the ballot.
So we are, we have to schedule that in consideration of it. The ballots will be going out mid to late February.
So a couple things, right? So it's like, why didn't you talk to me about, hey, look, we need to do that because that's my committee. So you're overstepping. Okay, you should have included me. I'm not done here. So you should have done that. You should have talked to me about that. That's one of the things that this board doesn't do, is they don't talk. I'm talking. Okay? So the point of order here is that I specifically asked for is to have a time before our meetings here that's open to the people here so we can discuss this stuff so the cows come home. Everybody's walking to do that. So this is a perfect topic we should have got together early today. And I'm very supportive of you, Marcy, but apparently you're not supportive of me. So I need, in regards to town halls, you should have talked to me, the board should have talked to me and said, hey, look, we need to get on this.
Yeah,
So
and we did, Tim.
No, you didn't.
You and I went to coffee. We went to coffee, and I specifically said, we need to get the town hall going for the e-voting. That has now been several weeks. Do I need to have to call you every week?
No, but you don't, but that's, regardless, people please act like an adult here.
I am acting.
So here's the deal, is that we also talked about Zoom meetings that we should be having. And when I was taken off the ad hoc committee for these things, I could have been on a Zoom call. And I've asked you to make sure that you get on your committee that we can talk about Zoom calls again. Has that been put on your thing?
Well, my committee doesn't meet regularly, and I have said yes, that I would be considering that, absolutely.
Okay, so
But we also have a ton of other issues too that we're dealing with. And you want to comment about this particular bylaws right here, and you're saying you've had not enough time to review it.
No, I have. I've circled a lot of issues here. So the problem is we go through every issue. So one of the issues that I have is the fact that the board is continually taking their responsibility and passing it on to Karen. And next thing we know is we have a letter written to one of our pickleball club members that says you need to cease and desist. Did somebody ever go out and talk to that person before they submitted that letter?
Tim, I would like to defend the town hall scheduling. I asked you in multiple board meetings, what was the schedule for town halls? That's on video. And I suggested that you get with staff members and schedule a date. That is what we have scheduled so far, a date. And that was my concern. But I asked staff if you had approached any of them about a date, and nobody had heard from you, so.
And you didn't call me and then say, hey, Tim, what's going
Jim,
on?
you told me you were gonna be out.
I was gonna be out of town, so you scheduled an ad hoc committee while I was gone. Knowing that I was on the ad hoc committee, and you substituted me with Bruce. Why did that happen?
We scheduled that ad hoc committee because we wanted to include that as an agenda item for today's board meeting. And we heard that you weren't going to be back in town till the 29th, which is past the time that all the material for the board binder is.
You and I had a one-on-one conversation on November 6th. I told you my schedule. You were fine with it.
I don't make people's personal schedule. I just know that you told me you were going to be out of town. I didn't know when the ad hoc committee was meeting. I am forever sorry. Bruce originally volunteered to be on that ad hoc committee, and then it was pointed out that if you were on it and he was on it, it was kind of weighted towards pickleball. So Bruce very kindly stepped aside. But I want to say in the ad hoc committee, Bruce was really a champion of pickleball. I hope you all hear that. Bruce really championed the pickleball cause. So it wasn't like it wasn't represented.
Well, it kind of seems like it was, because, and I'll tell you why. It's because when I asked the board, what did you reference when you had your ad hoc committee? Not one of you talked about Article 2 in the CCNRs. You have to go back to the original documents and go from there. Now, Karen said, hey, look, we've had this policy for 22 or 25 years, I can't remember what. Well, in 2022, state law changed. You have to change with the law. That means that we have to go back to the original CCNRs. We have to do that. Now, I've talked to the attorney before. So we need to revisit that. But there's a lot of stuff that you mentioned here today that the attorney's already looked at this.
So, and in regards to assignment of duties to the general manager, nothing has changed in this policy. It's a grammatical change. I'm sorry you feel the day-to-day operations don't belong with the general manager, but you have a copy of my job description, and the letter and everything you're talking about is clearly part of my job description.
I disagree. So that's what it is. It is the board. The board is taking too much of our responsibility and giving it to Karen Jones. I want it back.
It's not Karen Jones, it's the general manager.
The general manager who happens to be
The general manager is hired to execute what the board discusses, passes, and assigns her to execute.
Well, the general manager also knows that in 2022, we had a law change, and that has not been implemented in what we do here, and we need to do that.
I differ with that. So, believe me, we do get legal guidance quite thoroughly on what we do. So Lynette stood up, and Lynette, do you want to talk? Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry, Joe. I forgot. Come forward.
Regarding the club, my question is, on the clubs that you mentioned, the percentage of people that are allowed outsiders to be part of the club, can a club say no outsiders at all?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
That's only if the club allows to have non-residents, that is the number that they can allow. But the majority of the clubs do not allow non-residents.
Right. That was my question.
And that was the number we added.
A club with my wife, but she wasn't allowed to, so I wanted to clarify.
Yep. So the number that we added on the FER report was generated because of that, just to clarify how many clubs are actually don't allow any guests, which is a majority.
Lynette?
So I think it's in the board's best interest, because this touches so many people that are in all the clubs. I think it would be in your best interest if you could, I don't know, post this or circulate it somehow for comment from people. Because you know how that, like the federal government always propose policy for, I forget what it is, 60 days or something, and then people and businesses and whatnot can Federal registry, yes. So that's a good analogy, I think. I just think you'll get, in the long run, you'll get less pushback if you give people some time to absorb it and comment.
Thank you. Joey, do you want to?
I have a couple of things. I kind of agree with that. I think this needs to go before the clubs. This is their bylaws.
I'm sorry, you started this, I couldn't hear.
Oh, I think this needs to go before the clubs. I mean, to be presented to them. To me, that, you know, it's part of what, you know, they are based on. So to me, we should at least have it sent to the clubs and at least have input, like Lynette said. And the other thing, the very first part, it says something about recommended, that the board recommends rather than approves, and an existence of a club, I think it was. And so I'm just kind of going, sometimes residents maybe want a club, but I think you need to have it approved rather than recommended, because I just kind of feel,
Yeah, but Joy, it's saying recommended by the recreation committee and then approved by the board. It can't be approved by the recreation committee. That was fixing that. The recreation committee can only recommend that club to the board, and then the board has to approve.
because I was worried that that was saying.
No.
Only the.
Fundamentally, it's not changing anything. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah. And then the only other thing, I'm not a pickleball person, I'm not an athlete at all, hurt my knees or whatever, anyway. But the one little section on section 9 says eliminates the invitational tournaments. And I'm not sure that's fair. To me, it sounds like the fine arts group is against the sports group. So I'm sorry, but that's the way I'm kind of interpreting that. But
I don't follow that logic. I don't understand. You need to elaborate it, Tinch.
Okay,
So
just that, you say a member-only tournament or to host an occasional event or show. So, I just think that a club should be able to host an individual event or show. You see what I'm saying?
And I don't believe that policy.
That's crossed out on the red here, it's crossed out.
But member only is what the committee added, the ad hoc committee.
But
So
then
it's
it
not
crossed
in
out,
conflict.
but it crossed out or host an individual event or show.
Invitational event.
Right.
So it's more of a sports driven, it's not to do with the fine arts and stuff.
Arts and craft clubs.
Arts and craft, yeah.
We have a board policy that prohibits outside league play, and I think that speaks to that.
Anyway, okay, and then the other thing, the 12 members that have to maintain to be a club, does that mean that people die out like oh darn it, like the ping pong people, okay? I don't think that's a big club. So they have to maintain 12 people to have ping pong tables here? Is that what you're saying?
No, the ping pong tables are an amenity to the whole community. But
No,
for
I'm
the,
just saying the club wide, I mean, I don't know, I kind of.
in order for the club to schedule and hold the ping pong,
I understand.
Let me finish, please. You asked a question. So the difference with the club versus an amenity for the association, clubs have the right to reserve the facilities. And that's what the club bylaw guideline is. So the ping pong club reserves it 3 days a week. the dance club can't use that facility because it's a shared room. That's why a club is established, for reservation of the facility.
A reservation of the facility.
Yes.
Okay. The 12-member thing is what I was just questioning. The new.
That's not new.
It's not new, it's just clarified.
That has always been.
Okay, it's on that first page, but,
Something at page 20.
yeah, the B.
We need to get going.
Okay.
Please.
So, okay, I just have a question on that, because that looks like that city goes on.
Norma?
Norma Apodaca, Tamron Place. This is not a town hall item, this is a club item, and if this is to be further discussed, it should be with the presidents of the clubs. And as Marcy stated, most of the clubs do not hire guests. I wish Vince were still here. Okay, because you were in this ad hoc committee and you took part in this. Pickleball permits guests, correct?
Yes.
Two. So does PAC. And so that's why we have the most to say about this. We have cut way, way down, and I think, what, Marcy, we're like 3 or 4 or 5, we've cut way, way down on this. So, my opinion, if you want the club presidents to look at this, I think they should. And I would also recommend that the bylaws be included in the president's packet every year at the president's meeting. Because several people have said that I've never seen this before. So that's just a suggestion.
I think that's a great one. Donna, do you want to say something?
Just really quick.
Okay.
I know everybody wants to go home. Donna Karnowski, where I live, Village Terrace. I do agree that the clubs should be involved, the different clubs. What did you say? There's like 84 clubs? That's a lot. I mean, what a great opportunity for all of us. But that section 9, back to the section 9, there was in there, it was stated, and I agree with her comment or a question about the clubs can do a member-only tournament. Get that, that's sports orientated. But then also it being crossed out to say or host an invitational event show if the pottery and jewelry and all the other clubs that make things that want to sell, that's a show. They're selling it, that's a show. And members only, then you're saying they can't bring people in to sell those items, in my opinion. So clarification.
That's why it was removed.
Okay, but now you're only putting in about the sports orientation of the clubs in that section, in the approval. So
If
you're
it's not there, then it's permitted.
So that means
that does not.
Why can they be permitted to do it and then a sports club can't?
You mean like hosting a show and having people come in and purchase their
I
stuff?
mean, now you're picking, in my opinion, this is all my opinion, right? You're picking and choosing what clubs can do what. And if it's all for one and one for all, I think that it should be uniformed. But I do agree with it also being shown to the club presidents to be able to have a discussion about it before it's voted on. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I forget, did we even have a motion on
You
this?
did, Max and Marcy.
Here again, I'm hearing that maybe club presidents should see this. It was not presented to the club presidents at the club presidents meeting.
Correct.
Well,
We can email it to all the club presidents.
I-
And I think a highlight of the 4 or 5 items that Bill pointed out, because it is a very ugly document with all the red and blue highlights. But the highlighted points are what's really important.
okay, I'm going to suggest that this be tabled for that effort, that we get this in front of all the club presidents. Okay, so it requires the motion withdrawn.
I will withdraw the motion.
You seconded it.
I will Marcy agree with my second.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're getting a lot done today.
The only thing I would ask is that we do this very quickly, because if we want to start this by the first of the year, we need to get this finished.
Well, there's no way we're gonna be able to get it started at the first of the year.
Yeah,
It has to
we
go
have
back to the board.
So the next board meeting is January.
Well, it will become effective immediately on that meeting day, or is it
Or
going
the
to
board.
become effective?
Or the board could postpone it, whatever they choose.
I see. So if we make the motion in January, make it effective immediately. That's what we're taking time.
Yeah.
All right, okay, thank you.
Whatever the board
Thank
chooses.
you all. Thank you all for your input.
Fix the capitalizations and that sort of thing.
The grammatical, but not the principal. Can that be fixed before mailing out to the president?
I think that would make it a much clearer document.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that everybody agrees that would get the present, no harm, no foul. All right. Item number B, new homeowner survey questions and letter. This generated from the Long Range Planning Committee. Steve, do you want to talk to this at all? Or should we just?
During our budget meetings and our Ways and Means meeting, there were many discussions, one of which was, which came up, why do people come here? Well, how do you end up in Westbrook Village? And we had plenty of dialogue, plenty of discussion, and it was decided to put together a 5-question survey for new homeowners to find out how they ended up or why they ended up in Westbrook Village. Otherwise, it's a great question. How did you all end up here? So that's how this started, and this is where we are today.
Okay, very good. So, do we need a motion on this? Okay, may I have a motion to approve or disapprove this letter and survey?
Could we see survey, please?
Thank you.
Before we have any other, everybody on the committee had to put together, and there were no numbers. You could put together 1 question or 50. Everybody on the committee submitted their questions independently of each other, that we weren't feeding off of each other's information. They were turned in and discussed, and this is where we are.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve this letter as it's written and the survey that accompanies it. I think it's an important part of receiving valuable information from our new residents.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, any more discussion on it?
Yeah, I would just add to Steve's comment that this was made short in order to get it done by people, and this is going out to new residents or new homeowners within the last 2 years.
The year of 23 and 24, anybody that purchased here in 2023 and 2024.
Okay, on that.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
Let me pick myself up off the floor. Thank you, I appreciate that.
I have a comment on number 5, please. If we can, it says additional comments for the Long Range Planning Committee. If we're going to say that, can we have some kind of a narrative before they take the survey, explaining to new homeowners what that is, or change that to additional comments for the board, the Westbrook Village Board.
I don't quite understand why any comments that would be coming forward would be first hashed out in the long-range planning committee and then would be presented to the board for action or consideration. But the long-range planning committee is the first step in this.
But they might not know that, that's all, just to clarify. I think it's I moved in here today, I might not know what a long-range planning committee is. You know, so if you.
It's pretty, the title is pretty descriptive. Give me a break.
Well, I got a lot of product here, and sometimes all that information doesn't get.
Well, most of us don't, I don't think, Vince. So it really, I think to say to go to the board, that is misleading. It's not going to go to the board first. It's going to go to the long-range planning committee. And I'm not going to mislead people on this.
Do you want to add both possibly? Is that what you're saying, is long-range planning committee and board?
I would say then, comments for the long-range planning committee, comma, and further examination by the board of directors. I want to make sure that people understand it goes to long-range plan so that people go to the long-range planning committee like they come to the board meeting now. I want to let Steve handle you all. Okay, here we go. We had a motion, and I'm going to ask that you raise your hands. I'm calling for the vote. All in favor, please raise your hands. And that was unanimous. Thank you.
So my question to you is is we were hoping to do this in January to get through the holidays. Do you have a preference of a date?
Well, I would say sometime after the 10th,
After 10th of January?
I would say, yeah, people a chance to cover the New Year's, get their bearings.
How quickly do you get information from people from title to know? Because we have until the 31st to close. So how quickly would you get their information to make sure that the people closing in the next 2 weeks are going to be part of that?
So we've started the database from January 1 of 23 up to current, and as their resale demand comes in, we'll add them to that.
Okay.
So they may not have closed by 12/31, Marcy. We could still add them to the list. Maybe they have 115 closed.
Right.
But we could still individually send them the survey after they close, so we don't miss them.
Okay.
Okay, we suggested that it would be mailed out January 10th, returned by February 10th.
Yep. Is that okay with the board?
Just a quick question, are you going to continue to send this out then past that point, or is this only for that 2-year period? Are we going to keep, sending it out, getting the information from all new property owners and all that type of thing? I think it would be good to have it on a continual basis.
I suppose we could always add it to the new homeowners packet.
Yeah.
They get it from us.
And we've often talked about just sending it out every time somebody buys. But doing it in the big group gives you, a substantial amount of data. The long-range plan may want to just do this once a year.
Okay. I think that is a good idea to keep it as a regular. Okay. Candidates forum discussion. There was a woman, and I don't believe she's here today, that came from Willow Ridge last month, and she said we need to discuss this at a board level, the candidates forum questions. And she didn't make her point anymore. I don't know what her idea was in asking that it be agendized in this meeting. Does anyone have any information on that? Anyone know her?
Yes.
All right, can you tell us a little bit about what she wanted, a little bit, so we know where to go with this?
Right. I think first, what we heard about the candidates night is that the first few questions were submitted by the board to the candidates. Is that correct?
No, the first few questions are regular questions that are presented every year. They weren't board generated.
Okay, that's fine. All right, the second part is, when I sat there and watched the moderator, he would pull out a question, look at it, and either ask it, or he set it down on the table and pulled out another question. So what she was indicating to me is that what she would like to see is that you have the option of having an open mic and written questions.
I see.
So this way, and there should be no filtering of a question that comes out of the box, unless it's a repeat question. And then the moderator could read it and say, as you all know, we just answered this 5 minutes ago, or we just asked this 5 minutes ago. This way, because the feeling was he was filtering, okay? Probably, hopefully he wasn't, but, you know, to make it transparent, that's what she would like to see, and I, quite frankly, I'm in favor of that also, that we have an open mic, and we can take 3 or 4 questions out of the box and then say, let's see if there's a question from the audience. If nobody raises their hand, keep going through the box.
I always do that at annual meeting.
Right.
I have open mic questions.
Because, you know, like anything else, if one question is asked, that might generate another question in somebody else's mind.
Sure.
So I think to have a really open and transparent candidates night, that would be.
Vince, can you stay there for a second? Could you go back to page 35, please? So I think it's the 5th or 6th item down. So Vince, I need you to get the mic. What is it? It says each candidate, where is it? The moderator will ask questions in a rotation method of his or her choice. And it says the moderator is responsible and has ultimate decision making at the meeting if needed. Would you consider having all the presidents of the club throw their names in a hat and somebody pick something out of the hat to be a moderator?
Yeah, that could be one way. Yeah, first of all, yeah, I don't agree at all with that. The moderator has the ultimate decision. If it's a question, he needs to ask it. Okay, unless it's a repeat question. That's my feeling. That's what we're here for. If somebody took the time to show up at the meeting and write a question and put it in the box, then that question should be asked. So who you have as a moderator, yeah, we might, maybe we get 2 moderators, 1 for each side. So this way, if we're going to have a lot of people raise their hand and want an open mic question, we can speak.
1 for each side.
1 for each side, yeah. And then
What do you mean each side? I don't know.
have somebody over here with a mic. This somebody over here is raising their hand. I can just go there. And
I see.
just speak.
I didn't get 1 for each side.
Because what I saw, the room was full. We
Yeah.
had a big
Yeah.
attendance, and that would speed things up if we do the open mic thing.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that clarification. Thanks, Vince.
Just one comment I'd just like to make is just, that's fine, I agree with you. But if you have 300 people at the meeting and all 300 people want to ask a question and you have 8 candidates, you know we'll be there until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, but you're not gonna have that. Okay, and there is a time limit to the meeting, we say that up front. And we get, you know, some of us, myself included, kind of get long-winded, and that's where the moderator steps in. And just says, hey, you know, we gotta cut this short, we got the gist of your question, let him answer.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
Okay. You want to say something, Bill?
Hey, put my 2 cents worth in again. Bill Wolf, I just wanted to make sure that you realize that the moderator does need to have some latitude Over the years, I have hosted these kinds of things at conventions and conferences and even on live television. And sometimes the questions that come in, the moderator really has to take a look at to determine, one, if it's an appropriate question. Sometimes you can't read the question, because the handwriting is so bad. Again, as mentioned, sometimes it's a redundant question. So the host, you need to pick a host who has, good ethics and is honest and is not going to try to pad one direction or another. But the moderator does need to have some latitude because it's really up to that individual to control the flow of what happens at that meeting. And it's not necessarily as easy as it sounds.
Bill, I think that person should be neutral.
Ideally, yes, the individual is neutral.
And not affiliated with any particular group.
Well, certainly not affiliated with any particular candidate. But if you start looking at maybe people who can do this and maybe they're club presidents, they may know the individuals. The only thing that you can do to avoid that completely is to bring in the moderator from the outside.
Correct.
And there are people who do that, the facilitators, consultants and people who do that so that you don't have any question about whether or not, well, this question doesn't look good for this candidate, so I'm not going to, say, now, can't read that one, I'm going to get rid of it. And maybe that's the answer. It's just to bring in someone from the outside.
Or we could have three people off to the side, like maybe one board member who's not running for election and two residents. And if a question like that comes up that the moderator feels he needs their opinion, he just says, this question I think you need to give to the group over here to look at before I ask it.
Well, you can carry that a step further if you like also. And you could have that group off to the side, and as the questions go into the box or whatever you use, if they see one that's not legible, then they don't include it, or if it's laced with profanity or personal insults and things like that, you have to eliminate those. Those cannot become part of the form like this.
I was moderator one year, and I did eliminate a question that really attacked a candidate's personal life choices. It was a disgusting question, and it needed to be excluded.
I mean, years ago, I hosted a show called Talk Back to TV, and it was a live show, and people called in questions. And there was no filter on those questions coming to me. And while I was sitting there on the air with the general manager who was asking the questions, and I'll tell you, there were some buttes that came through that had to be thrown out. There really were. It was just, people take an opportunity to air their grievances. And that's not the place for it. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? I don't know that we need a motion. I agree that open mic is not a bad idea. So, moving on.
What about an outside facilitator?
I don't know one. I don't know one, and in the past, when we've selected moderators, we've tried to pick people that are very Westbrook Village first and foremost, not people with agendas that are obvious agendas and whatnot. So I don't know. Do you know an outside moderator? And here again, we'd be taking on more expense.
Well, I can imagine somebody would do it for free.
I got just, it's piggybacking on what Vince said, maybe it would be in our best interest to have a small committee standing aside, going through all the questions and then presenting them to the moderator from there, and let the moderator just go and ask questions, but you'll have a small group at the side filtering out the repetitive questions, the ones that are inappropriate and so forth.
you could have a table of 3 up there.
Something
And
similar,
2 people that are sorting the questions.
right.
And you do need a person that understands HOA. You know, that's why it's always been a past board member or somebody that understands HOA. I can look in my peers and see, I do know there are communities that hire outside moderators, but to your point, Amy, that doesn't, they have no knowledge of Westbrook Village and things like that, which could be okay.
I'm trying to think of topics and whatnot that would be likely. Some knowledge of Westbrook Village does help. When we were going through and working on the lease for water from the golf club, experience and knowledge really helped with questions on that. I'm trying to think if there's any issues like that we face right now that, you know. But I do like a panel of 3. I think that would be maybe a great idea too. So we'll go forward and come up with something that I feel will really represent the whole community, and I like the open mind. I do. Okay.
So will that be brought up at the next meeting then?
Let's see, that candidates night is happening in
February 3rd.
February 3rd, so yeah, there's time to bring it up.
So we'll put that on next month's board agenda.
Yes, please. Okay.
Is this really something that we have to bring to the board?
I think that it is a manner to present it to the community. And I don't think that there's going to be extended discussion on it, because I hope what is resolved is, you know, broad, sweeping, and fair.
So the 2 changes I'm hearing is we're going to have 3 people at the moderator table, 1 assigned moderator, 2 assistants, and then an open mic.
The 3 board, there's a moderator, there's 3 community members.
No, it should be 3, or it should be an odd number.
Yeah. There's a vote necessary to be a odd number.
Yeah, 1 moderator and 2 residents.
More than 2 residents, and they would give the questions to the moderator.
Okay, so that, good clarification. 1 board member, 2 residents, plus the moderator. Okay?
Okay, that's good.
Is it in our best interest to create a policy just for this one item that would carry on?
Well, back to Tim's thing, we can't create policies right now without getting a legal opinion on it.
I think the board has full authority to make reasonable rules and guidelines, but Bruce, on page 35, that would be maybe the place that we need to update and add this to it, and the board approves it.
Thank you.
Actually, last January, we had asked for a standard operating procedure on elections. We could do that.
Do what?
Have a standard operating procedure on elections.
Okay.
Well, we kind of have worked towards that with electronic voting and whatnot, so thank you for bringing that up. All right, on to committee reports. First up is architectural, Marcy.
Basically to expedite the remainder of the meeting, your minutes and your binder.
Government relations, Jim?
Nothing this time, but I'm going to include the town hall meetings. I'm going to march over and get a date for other town halls that we need to have.
The government relations is city and state government?
That's right. Well,
Normally what happened in past, as I told you, The chairman of this committee normally would attend City Hall meetings and be in touch with state legislatures and make a report on that. And if that person was unable to make the City Hall meetings, then they watched them on TV and submitted a report for the board for in our binders. That's how that was normally handled. If you can't make it down to the city meetings, could you watch that on TV?
Yes, I can do that.
That would be most helpful, thank you. Okay, IT committee, Marcy.
No meeting.
Landscape and facilities, your minutes are in your binders, and it was a very usual business type meeting in that we reviewed water usage and discussed some tree placement and whatnot. Those are the highlights of that meeting. Long range planning, Steve.
Minutes are in your binder.
Okay. Cornerstone committee, the committee members were at various functions and raised $200 to contribute to the beautification fund, $205. And right now, there was a City of Peoria grant that was offered, but it really would be overshadowed by the fact that it would be a turf conversion project, and that turf conversion would be happening, it's north of the tennis courts and between the tennis courts and the high rise. And Karen and I are working with the City of Peoria to get some turf conversions funding. And I think it would calculate out to be like $11,000. So we're working on that. And I gave her the authority to go ahead and work on that with me.
Thank you.
Okay. Personnel committee, Steve.
It was a discussion on renewing the health insurance policy for our employees.
Okay, recreation committee, Max.
Minutes are in your binder. Entertain any questions, and looking forward to the next meeting.
Okay. Town hall, Tim.
As mentioned before, I will obtain a date and time today and respectfully request that all the board members email me and let me know what they want to see in the near future.
Okay. Ways and means, Steve.
The minutes are in your binder.
Okay, and golf course joint meeting. We met with the golf course regarding painting of the walls. We got a great bid from Metzger's Painting Company that really was a knock-to-your-solve savings type bid. Thank you, Karen, for working with Metzger's on that. And we didn't finalize that contract. That we are meeting again with them on Monday. So that's what I have on that. Managers' reports are in your binders. Does anyone have any questions for any of the managers? All right. Then for the good of the order, does anybody have any goodness left?
I do, I always do.
Okay.
Just as a reminder, your 2025 annual assessments went in the mail 2 weeks ago. The 2025 annual assessment increased to $795.90, which is what 2.5% CPI increase. If you have not received it, you can email admin@westparkvillage.org. We understand there is a postal strike in Canada, So anybody that hasn't gotten their statement, just send us an email at admin@westbrookvillage.org and we'll get you a copy of that right away.
Anything else? With that, I'm adjourning this meeting. Thank you all for attending. Oh, wait. The next meeting is,
Yes, I'm sorry. So to be determined for the next meeting.
the next board meeting is,
Would have fallen on Wednesday, January 1st, but we're closed. And so suggestion.
shall we make it January 8th, the following Wednesday?
Everybody available?
Does that affect a committee meeting?
That would, yes, it would, landscape and facilities, so we have to change some times between the two. So on, excuse me,
Do we have to have the board meeting before we start the committee meetings? Because you would have already had that by that point, you would have been
Right.
there before.
the reason we do the board meeting first is the board always reviews the facility usage report, and then it trickles down to all the committees to use. Typically, that's the purpose of that. We could move it to the 2nd or 3rd of January, but it's typically on a Wednesday morning. What does the board think?
I think that we should make it on the 8th because I'm mentally thinking of what would be on that landscape and facilities agenda, and I don't see a big project on there, correct me if I'm wrong. So I think that meeting will again just be going over regular business, nothing that would be forwarded to the board. So I'm saying landscape and facilities on the 8th.
So we'll have the board meeting at 9 a.m. and then have the landscape at 1?
Yeah.
We've done that before,
It's
just
available.
move times. 9 a.m. for the board, 1 p.m. for the landscape?
Yes. That's what I'm thinking. So here we are. Okay, thank you all. I appreciate it.
I didn't want to accept you.
Don't you dare leave.
Good job.